Hello and welcome, you wonderful souls. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sky Sheridan, and I'm going to be your host on this new wonderful podcast journey and experiment called Under One Sky, a name that you guys all chose. So thank you so much for participating. This is a show where we see solutions, hear humanity, and feel the future, mostly life discussions that will help build better communities. So let's jump right into it. Some of you are new here. Some of you know me very well from building the community at Sky Farms. Sky Farms is an agricultural cooperative, an open source cooperative that we started in the last 10 years to help move consumers to become food citizens. Most of you might know that my work 25 years in New York City and Los Angeles was in entertainment and fashion. I went back to my old sustainable roots to create solutions around farming and SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. However, recently we've made a nice little shift to creating conversations that would allow people to share their wisdom, their knowledge, their expertise, their successes in building communities, and what that takes to build a community. What are the pillars of a good community? What kind of communities do we want to organize? So thank you again for being here. Excuse me for my experimental nature. Of course, I've done all the regular things that new podcasters do, which is do the research, find the equipment, get on the channels, get myself up to date about how to speak and how to create these types of conversations. So just to give you an idea of who we are, we are a community of movers and shakers and visionary makers. So we're all approaching this together, and your input is so valuable. So please, please, please join us in leaving comments, suggestions, feedback on this YouTube channel, of course, or any of the channels that you will find. I'll share a little bit about that later. We have a Discord channel we also set up for conversations daily that will help shape these conversations. And of course, we want you involved in any way, shape, and possible. Form, shape, and possible. Who are we again? We're extraordinary souls, basically, coming together to shape solutions, to have a collective future of well-being. One of the things that I've been really concerned about in the last 10 years is working on sustainability. That's a term that many of the workshops I've run among the youth particularly has been a bit of a hard thing to grasp, like what sustainability is. Of course, we know the definition, capacity to have longevity and circular building design, all that stuff. However, we really want to discuss on this program, particularly what sustainability is in our own lives, and like how can we do that as regular citizens, bring sustainable communities about? What kind of community do we want to take part in? So some of the things you're going to get from this program is elevated consciousness. A lot of us that we are operating together in my own community, in our own community, as a sense of consciousness, a sense of moving beyond the old way of doing business, the business as usual mindset. So the mindset is changing. The consciousness, as you will, can change. Consciousness, of course, sounds like a esoteric word. It's kind of loaded, but it is. We are different human beings these days now that we're more connected and that we're more informed and, of course, misinformed. But our whole goal with this podcast is to inspire healthy humans and to innovate for a healthy planet. So that's what you will be getting out of this. And you'll be getting a sense of belonging to a community and a sense of value that you can add to this community, because we are going to have this podcast be an open source type of project. And by that, I mean, I'm welcoming you, many of you, to come and co-host with me, and ask our guests that we'll have scheduled each week. We will be broadcasting every Tuesday, so you can count on that. And we'll have wonderful guests in every different area of people who have built eco communities, people who have ideas and theories for building communities. They range from everything. Of course, the sustainable work I've dealt with has a lot to do with energy, like food, water, energy nexus. So we're going to cover energy. We're going to cover mindset, our consciousness. We'll be covering sustainable design, which there's a lot of really wonderful principles out there that we can all follow and make ourselves aware of. We want to cover narratives in a community. What's the propaganda? What's the programming, the news, the misinformation, the facts, the alternative facts, the things that actually shape our ideas and beliefs about how we relate to each other. We want to dive into innovation. There's 13 technologies out there that are really helping us form a different kind of community. What does work and automation have to do, and robotics and the Internet of Things? Economics, of course, is a huge part of a community. And then we've actually deemed the last is science, health, arts, religion, and education, which is a acronym we call SHARE. So care for share, care for science, care for health, care for arts, religion, and education. Topics that we can talk about with thought leaders and innovators, and of course, people like you. How can you get involved? The big thing is we want you to be a part of this conversation. This conversation is open. We would really like to hear from you. So please join us on Discord. Help us up our game. If you've got any skills or suggestions to make our podcast better, to help improve my experience and learning curve on this podcast journey, please share them in the comments on YouTube, share them on Discord in the conversation. Email me. Let me know what you're thinking about the show, what you'd like to see more of, how you'd like to support this mission to build better communities. So the real question that I want to engage in during this podcast, during this experiment, is I would like to hear from all of the players in a community, all of you, from leaders to everyday citizens, who really have something to say about what a community is. How do we want our communities to be organized? What do we want from our communities? What can our community support us with? And what does community actually mean? Like I said, forgive me on my learning curve. I'm still learning so much about this podcasting arena. And I hopefully that some of you who might have more experience might be able to help engage in this collective process to become a podcast that people like to listen to, a podcast that people feel engaged with, and that they get something from it. Really, what we want to do is leave the community and people like you with real life tools that you can begin to implement in your own community, discussions that you can have with your own family and friends and neighbors about what type of community you want to organize. And like I said, what tools we have available to us to create more sustainability, to keep things more local, and to bring more heart into our communities so there's less division and more cohesiveness among us. And that being said, I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. I'm so thankful that you're tuning into this introductory video, and I really look forward to taking this journey with you, this exciting, unknown journey that will take us, who knows, into wonderful places. If you get involved, if we're all involved, we can do great things together. Thank you so much. Onwards and upwards. I'm your host, Guy Sheridan, and thank you again for joining us on this wonderful introductory of Under One Sky.